The hell are you supposed to be? I'm vengeance.
What's up, guys? AW here, Iron War Order. What's up? Hope you're having a good afternoon. On this, what is this? Sunday, the last day before August. I'm, got my Ninja Turtle tickets, Mutant Mayhem tickets for Tuesday. As a reminder, comes out this Wednesday, but you can always get tickets this Tuesday. Yeah. So if you're new here, like, share, subscribe, comment below, do whatever. Yeah, do all that. Thank you. Okay. So I don't know how long this stream is going to be. I'm going to like to end it before I order dinner. I'm not making dinner tonight. I'm going to order out dinner. And then I got the NXT show later tonight to watch. Great American Bash. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. Yeah, NXT Great American Bash tonight. Starts very, very soon. Well, actually, yeah, in 3 hours. That's in 3 hours. My bad. I just got to answer a reply. Okay, so this is I put this on both of my channels, my sports and wrestling channel and my normal pop culture channel, because this does apply onto both. Applies into both worlds. Because I'm gonna be SummerSlam's next week. Today's the NXT show, the minors. Next Saturday is SummerSlam. Today's NXT. But cool, yeah. So I thought this topic that's going hand in hand, and kind of, because there's a world wrestling fandom where people treat wrestling like it's a sport. Okay? And for decades and decades, wrestling was perceived as a sport, whether it's okay, like it was real serious sport. Okay? A real serious sport. We have big body, strong ass men facing off each other, right? We didn't know who's going to win or lose. We all thought, you know what, this person's going to win because he's a better athlete or whatever, right? Right? For decades and decades. I think that kind of ended. Well, it didn't really end, but I think that impression kind of ended in the 80s and 90s for me, when WWE, specifically WWE, and some other guys, not WWE, but WWE kind of ended that. WWE put the stake in that impression that wrestling's a sport. Specifically when in the 90s, when he had these characters, these outlandish characters, like it had a Minotaur, the Minotaur, the guy with the Minotaur head. Unfortunately, the guy passed away, sadly, I think a week ago, that guy who passed away. Then he had like Duke the Dumpster Dozy and Hi Anthony. And he had like a lot of wrestlers that had gimmicks and characters. To me, that just really kills the impression that wrestling is a sport, okay? And there's still a lot of purists who think wrestling is a sport. And I'm going to say this right now. Wrestling is not a sport. They may have some stuff from sports, like you win this, you get another title shot. You got a title shot. You're number one contender for a title, right? They made that, right? Right? Wrestling. But you know what? In sports, you do that. The best, if you're in the playoffs, yeah, the higher seed gets this. Whatever you obviously in tournament combat sports, you come up the ranks. Wrestling tries to do that, but you know who they want to be the top ranked, the number one contender, and who has the belts. They know ahead of time. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about this. Okay, they know ahead of time. Like wrestling is like a fake, right? Like Degrassi is the best. It's performing arts. It's basically a play. They're doing plays, man. Live on TV. It's a live play. Okay, it's not a sport. I know the Japanese wrestling, New Japan wrestling, they try to still make it look like it's a sport. And I have no problem. I have no problem. The Japanese wrestling is good. Some aspects, I'm good at Vortex, but I do have a problem with the entertainment aspect at times in New Japan wrestling. Okay. And if you know me, I don't mind in-ring work in wrestling, right? If you know me, I don't mind in-ring work because that's phenomenal stuff. You gotta be phenomenal to do that. How to work a match, right? That's you gotta give props to all the wrestlers doing that. That's hard shit. It's hard shit to do. That's them doing their own stunts, right? That's really them doing their own stunts, right? Compared to actors and actors. Well, it depends on the actors, actresses, whatever. They do. Some will do their own stunts, some won't. Whatever. It compares. But you don't have a stunt double in wrestling. So you gotta give props to these superstars willing to put the body on the line. I'll give them that, right? But it's not that. It comes, but it's all the other stuff. You have the other stuff. So specifically the 90s, from the 90s on, it's all the other stuff to me where wrestling is more of a TV show. Okay? Once Raw 1993 kicked off, 1993 Raw was like the big mainstream wrestling show, okay, for WWE. Once that kicked off, that's when you knew it was not really a sport. It's more of a daily soap opera show, a weekly soap opera show. Because if you know, soap operas are on daily, right? For wrestling, they say wrestling is a soap opera, but it's more of a weekly soap opera, right? Okay. And if you especially the Attitude Era was the worst, and in-ring work was arguably the worst quality wrestling rise. Really, if you really look at it, don't get me wrong. There were some good matches here and there, some great storytelling in here and there. Okay, like there's, but if you really look at, don't sell it, man. Switch us good games, man. Mario's coming out soon. Okay, but if you really look at the Attitude Era, it's not the best matches, not the best wrestling. But my question comes to you this, right? This is why I see wrestling as a TV show. And Degrassi knows from my previous streams, I always viewed wrestling as a TV show. Okay? Basically a TV show, not a sport. And I like that. I have no problem with that. You read comics monthly, right? Wrestling is weekly. To me, you could boxing, right? Boxing, yeah, you don't know if it's fake or what. UFC, you could say it's fake, whatever. But with wrestling, it's really a show. You know, AEW has this flawed system, right? Oh, we're bringing back wrestling. We're bringing back wrestling in quality in-ring work. Yeah, but you still do a lot of acting outside of it. Okay, but here's the thing: AEW has its rankings, right? The more, right? It has its win-loss record. Every wrestler has a win-loss record, and they reset every year. I'm like, the win-loss record to me means nothing, because I'm like, they're making out like, oh, you don't deserve your title, you don't deserve a shot at me. Look at your win-loss record. I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, I'm sorry, but in wrestling, a win-loss record shouldn't mean anything because it's staged, right? I don't like to use the word fake. It's scripted, right? So obviously, a win-loss record really, in hindsight, really doesn't mean anything in wrestling. Okay? It's really bullshit. It's really bullshit. And I know some people like, some people like, you gotta cut to make this guy look strong. Yes, yes, yes. But I like stories. I like what I like about wrestling the most, and about wrestling the most is the stories involving the superstars, the wrestlers, okay, and the characters. All right. There's a lot of wrestlers who are great in the ring, athletic, very skilled in the ring, have no personality, no charisma. To me, nothing to get behind about. Okay. I'm gonna criticize some AEW people, fans, stands, whatever you want to call them, specifically stands. They fall in love with every wrestler that can do athletic, high flying moves or flips, but most of these wrestlers have no character, no personality. Okay, and now if on the indies, and the only way to get noticed now is to like do these crazy moves, these flips, do these crazy moves, put yourself through a table, do something risky. I don't like get over with your character, okay? Get over with your character. Okay? To me, character development, character gets you over more than and promo skills and mic skills more than and honestly in-ring work. And now this is where it ties to why are they considered actors or wrestlers? I consider them both. Okay? They are wrestlers, but they are actors too. Okay? And Anthony does see, I'll say this, okay? And I'll say this, some wrestlers are part of SAG-AFTRA. They are. Okay? When John Cena was in WWE for a time, he did some movies on the side. He's not really WWE right now. He does stuff for them once in a while. He was part of SAG, okay? Batista, The Rock, I think even Austin was part of SAG when Austin was doing all that stuff in the 90s. I don't know how old you guys are, but I know Degrassi knows it for a fact. Austin did some Nash Bridges stuff back in the day in the 90s. Nash Bridges with Don Johnson and was it Chico? Yeah. Yes, right? So yes. So Austin did some back in the day. The Rock did like the Rock first non-TV role movie I'm not sure. I think it was the 70s show, and then he got Scorpion King. Okay. And if you could go way back, Hogan and Piper. Okay. Hogan and Piper. Okay. Seth Rollins, yeah, he probably has one. Now the wrestlers these days, most of them these days, probably have a part of SAG-AFTRA. Okay. They're part of SAG. Okay. That's because they're also some of them have been in movies and TV shows, right? So apparently, like I'll just say this: apparently, Drew McIntyre, who's going to have a big match at SummerSlam next week, okay? He's not going to be a Raw. He's not going to be a Raw this Monday, apparently, according to reports, because he's going back to filming something with Batista and Ice Cube. I guess I don't know what the film is, but I guess this film is not part of the major studios. The ones maybe it's A24. I don't know. It didn't say the title in the article I read on the studio, but I assume it's not one of the major studios that you're getting shit on. Yeah, Ice Cube the rapper. Yes. So yeah, and Drew McIntyre, Batista, man. Okay, so I assume it's nothing. Assume it's either a raver. They got a raver for that or whatever. I don't know what film it is. I can't. Maybe let me look up Dave Bautista's IMDb. Maybe it's on there. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about, Vortex. The stuff. Yeah. So, let me see. It's not My Spy. Is it Groove Tales? No, it's not that. God, he has a lot of upcoming stuff. My God, look at this. This guy is killing it. This guy just does. My God. Oh, here it is. I think this is it. The Killer's Game. I think this is it. And who is it by? Uh, the Killer's Game. It doesn't say who is it by. Because if this is filming, it might have a raver and who studio is doing it. Let me see. Lionsgate. It's a Lionsgate film. Now, Lionsgate hasn't been announced and hasn't been mentioned in any of the ongoing fight between SAG and Writers Guild in the studios now. Oh, Lionsgate. Oh, I didn't know Lionsgate was originally a Canadian studio. Wow. Okay, whatever. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, okay. I guess they got a waiver or something. Okay. Okay. Now, why do I bring up should wrestlers be covered by SAG? Should SAG cover wrestlers? Okay. Should SAG cover wrestlers? And if you based on the stream we've been talking about for this last 17, 18 minutes, I think I gave you an impression that you know what my answer is. And of course, my answer to it is yes. I think SAG should cover wrestlers. I know if they did, there'd be no WWE. They might not be in AEW. Or they should cover wrestling. Obviously, they could cover WWE, AEW. Obviously, WWE and AEW won't let them. I know that for a fact. Because I'll tell you this. They're anti-union. Vince McMahon is anti-union. I guarantee you Tony Khan. Well, Tony Khan is not really anti-independent in a way, but I could tell you he's really anti-union too. Okay? Because Tony Khan does have some wrestlers that he's willing to have in their contracts wrestle for smaller independent, or they're willing to talk with other promotions about doing cross promotion stuff. Really. But it has to go through Tony Khan first, right? You can't, right? Because overall, you really are still working for AEW. And to me, AEW is the most important company for the superstar if they're contracted to it, above any other company. Smaller. Now, those are the two big ones, AEW and WWE, maybe Impact to some degree. Okay? To some degree. But I really don't care about Impact, but it does affect them. Okay. So okay. Now, a little history. Jesse the Body Ventura, if you know Jesse the Body Ventura, had done some acting stuff in his past. He was also governor of Minnesota, and he is a conspiracy theorist, whatever. But you know, he's famous for the first Predator movie when he started with Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you remember that, Jesse the Body Ventura, he tried to get a union started in WWE in wrestling. He tried to get a union started, and Hogan basically ratted him out. Okay? Okay, Hogan basically ran him out. Now back in WWE, it was hard to be a wrestler in the 80s and 90s in wrestling, right? Because most of the time you're on the road, you stay at hotels, you have to make you have to eat meals, right? Every almost a lot on the road, stay at hotel, stay away from your family, and we're depending where you're on the card, whether you're top of the card or bottom of the card, the pay scale is vastly huge, a huge discrepancy. Okay, like Hogan, obviously Hogan. If you're a champion, you should make the most money, right? That's Hogan. Hogan obviously made the most money, right? Hogan definitely made the most money in the 80s. Okay, but if you're just a regular guy, a jobber, or somebody to get somebody over, this just squashes, you're not gonna make a good salary wherever, where you're not gonna make good enough money, right? In WWE, right? And so with a union in place, that could change everything for everybody. Definitely would change stuff for Hogan, but it would change everybody down on the roster, on the car, on the yeah, maybe better salaries, maybe better conditions. Man, back in the WWE, man, WWE, and still now to this day, you still gotta pay for your hotel and food and plane tickets. WWE will not. Well, it depends where you are in the pecking order. WWE. Brock Lesnar, they're probably willing to pay for the plane ticket for Brock Lesnar, okay? But if you're just like who something's on TV or something's not, you ain't paying. They ain't paying for your flight ticket. Now, give the benefit of the doubt. For some events, for WrestleMania, SummerSlam, WWE is a little more easygoing with the talent. They're willing to pay for the flight tickets, stuff like that. But it's really, really hard. And a lot of wrestlers now are making good salaries, man. Some are making in the millions. Some are making six figures. Some are making under six figures. Especially the women. The women, you get the pay scale compared from women to men, it's vastly huge. The women really have to work their asses off in WWE to get a good salary. Okay. So with this stuff, to me, they're actors. I think SAG should cover them. Obviously, most of the superstars are part of SAG, but they only cover them on the acting side of things. They can't cover them on the wrestling. So if they get hurt in wrestling, they get hurt in a match, SAG cannot cover them, cannot help them with that because they got hurt during wrestling. But if they got hurt during a production of a movie or TV show, they might be able to help them out with that. Okay? You might be able to help them out with that. But let's be honest. A wrestler, we're most likely to get hurt. A TV show or movie or a wrestling show match. And don't take this. See, you might see them once a week on TV, but they also wrestle on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, house shows, non-live events. So they wrestle about 3 or 4 times a week. Okay? So they put the body on the line. So let's be honest. Where do you think wrestlers will go most likely get hurt? On a TV show, production of a TV show or a movie, or a wrestling show event? Because Seth Rollins was just on Logan Paul's podcast, and he mentioned the injuries, the stuff he's been dealing with since 2019, and he admitted he probably has to go surgery one day. Yeah. Odd. So obviously they would get most likely there was a better chances to get hurt on wrestling than on TV on a production, obviously. Right? But if SAG covers them and sees how, especially NXT talent don't make 6 figures, okay? Okay, they don't make 6 figures. NXT talent at best might make 5 figures, but like NXT talent, this is what they have to do. They have to pay for the gear, hotels, rent. What else? Cars, whatever, right? And if they're also part of SAG, SAG would see them and go, "My God, SAG would see them and be like, wow, wow." They would probably loathe at the fact that these young talented wrestlers that are up and coming in the industry are being paid 5 figures, but really they're spending a lot of money on expenses that deserve to be paid off of the expenses, and these young superstars deserve to be paid a little bit more so they can pay off all this stuff. Because NXT superstars, I'll say this, a lot of them don't live alone, okay? They live together. Now, some have significant others, but some have roommates, right? And don't get me wrong, this happens in sports too. This happens in sports. I'm sure it happens in the acting world. I know it happens in the acting world where you're not a big star or even you don't even have to be A-list celebrity. You could be like a B-list celebrity. You know, somebody's almost on every TV show or every movie you recognize, but you're not really the leading star, whatever. You know, they could probably get away with stuff. But if you're just like somebody who's just taking somebody who's just an extra, or somebody who's just there to be on a movie or a TV show, you know, right? You probably have a roommate or something, right? Unless you're married and stuff like that, right? Same thing NXT. Same thing as sports. And sports too. Sports, especially baseball. Baseball is a long road ahead. Okay, you don't get paid very well in the minors. Well, actually, they're starting to get paid a little better. But before they got unionized and agreed on a pay scale for the minors, minor league players got paid peanuts, and they had to take second jobs during the off season because their first job, baseball is their first job. Baseball is their career. Baseball is a career for them. So, you know, and a career is most likely a career. You know what the difference between a career and a job is? A career is something that takes time to build, right? Right? And a job is just something to make money, right? I mean, right? There's a difference between a career and a job. A career is what you want to do, and you have to work your way up to get that. A job is just something like you do to make money. Okay? Oh, literally, yeah, literally. Now, if you're like a top talent minor leaguer that got drafted in the first, second, third round, you probably get bonuses. You do get bonuses, probably like 2 or 3 million bonuses, but it's still not much. Okay. Now, if you're working in baseball, if you make it to the majors, your pay goes up to 700,000 or maybe even more, 720,000, which is pretty good for a wicked contract for a first year, which is pretty good. If you ask me, it used to be like 400, 500,000 a couple years ago, but I think maybe 10 to 15 years ago, it used to be like 300,000. Okay, like, and football and basketball, well, specifically football, if you get drafted in the first round, you get paid really, really, really good. Why do you think some players choose football over baseball? Why do you think Kyle Murray choose football over baseball? Because it's guaranteed to get more money in football faster than baseball. That's just so factual true. If you're an athlete, you want to make money quicker. And you don't want to go through the grind of hockey and in baseball. Football is the sport to go, even though the risk of injury is probably higher in football than it is it's probably higher. It is higher in football than it is in baseball. And hockey, maybe it's higher than it is hockey, but hockey is very high risk too. But hockey, like baseball, you have to go through a grind too. Basketball is harder. it's much harder for a college player to get and make an NBA team than a football player, right? Because football has 6, 7 rounds. And basketball you only have 2 rounds, and it's harder. Okay, and if you get good at baseball, get great money. If you get really good at basketball, look at Jaylen Brown. Very soon, I know, very soon you're gonna. I don't know how long, 5, 6 years. You're gonna have very soon in basketball. You're gonna have $100 million player a season. Guarantee it. I guarantee it. Okay. Okay. 100 million. And it might very well be the guys the Spurs have may end up becoming the first one 100 million. I gotta look for a young superstar. Look for a young superstar, not an older superstar, not somebody in the 30s, somebody under 30. Okay. It won't be LeBron, even though LeBron's a freaking billionaire. LeBron will not make 100 a season because LeBron, by the time we get to that point, LeBron will probably be retired. Unless he plays to like 50 years old. We'd be surprised if LeBron plays basketball at 50. He probably can. But I like the thing is I know SAG doesn't view wrestling as acting, right? Because wrestling they try but even though Vince McMahon has basically said wrestling is entertainment, it's a form of wrestling, it's a form of entertainment. And I think a SAG should cover them. Okay. Now the writers of WWE are not part of a writers guild either. The WGA, they're not part of the writers guild. And the thing is, would WWE be considered? WWE, don't remember, they have their own studio. WWE has their own studio. WWE Studios. They do produce films and stuff. And I don't know if they're I don't know if they have a waiver either. They do. Right? I don't know. Remember, WWE has their own studios. And they're producing some good stuff over the years and some bad stuff. Some right? They're not even though a lot of wrestlers, not the big star wrestlers, a lot of wrestlers that were filming TV shows are like in not so well known, like not very popular stuff, but whatever. WWE has their own movie studio or television studio. I do think Fighting with My Family, even though it was a $7 production by The Rock half financed it, but I do think, correct me if I'm wrong, Degrassi, but I do think WWE Studios also had a hand in it, didn't it? Yeah. Production companies, WWE Studios, yeah. But if I was like, I don't know, and the question is, would wrestlers want SAG to cover wrestling? Because wrestling is getting away with this. There's a big illegal. You're getting away with something hugely illegal. Okay. Independent contractors. They say the wrestlers are independent contractors. That's the biggest bullshit in WWE and AEW. Specifically WWE. You're not independent contractors. If you're independent contractors, they should be able to work for other companies, other wrestling companies, right? While still working for WWE, right? 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 Isn't that what definition of independent contractor? No. Yeah, that's the thing, Degrassi. But they should. They're not really independent contractors, okay? I mean, look at Joshua the Body Ventura's interviews and stuff on this unionized stuff. Okay? Right? They're not independent contractors. If they were, they're able to work for other wrestling companies. Now, no, not every wrestler in the world is contracted to a company. Some are independent wrestlers. There are independent wrestlers they're willing, independent small wrestling companies are willing to pay this wrestler to appear on the show, but they're not legally contracted that show. You're just, it happens a lot of wrestling. There's the big companies like WAEW, Impact, and there's small wrestling promotions all over the world. Small. They're just willing to pay to have a wrestler show up at the show. They're not. It's okay. It's true, but everything wrestling does, especially on these big companies, is acting. It's acting. Okay, it's acting. There's not a lot of actors or billionaires either, man. Like, there's not a lot of actors or billionaires. Yeah, small actors are billionaires. Not even the big time actors are billionaires, man. You have a better chance, Anthony. You have a better chance of claiming people that are like are all millionaires in sports than in acting, right? Really, almost right. The professionals, right? In the most skilled leagues, right? Almost everybody is like at least very well off in some way. Heck, I could play in base. I'm hypothetically here. I could play baseball for 10 years, 10 years, 5 or 10 years, make, I don't know, few million in that 10-year span. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Same in hockey. Same in hockey. And not every wrestler is it's a stigma of some people seeing wrestling as not acting. Okay? And I'm pretty sure I'm look the people the entertainers that are into wrestling know wrestling is basically acting. Okay? And you know how hard it is to do all that stuff, man. Wrestling is really, really hard, man. You don't have you don't have 50 takes to do a scene or a line, okay? And when you're talking from the crowd, one take. And if you screw up, it can change the direction. It can change your direction. That's why there's some very good wrestlers knowing they screw up right away in a promo and they manage to ad-lib the way out of it. And there's some wrestlers that screw up accidentally and can't recover. I think it's something to teach you, though. I'll tell you what. You know what the funniest thing is? I didn't know this about a couple days ago. Okay, there was a backstage segment back in 2021. This wrestler basically photobombed another wrestler being interviewed, right? And in the corner of his hand, he had a piece of paper notes, and apparently those notes, he forgot to get rid of them. But apparently those notes were the lines he was supposed to say. He forgot to get rid of them. But yeah, so I think they should. Will they? No, I don't think they will. But but Whether should there be a union in wrestling? Yes. I know a union. I know why a union will hurt the wrestling business because if the wrestlers go on strike, you will have no shows for a week in their pay-per-views. We have nobody. And wrestling is a weekly show. They can't afford that, right? They can't afford that. They can't afford that. So, are they wrestlers or actors? Well, they're both. But a real wrestler is like an Olympic style wrestler. There's no future in that. There's no future in that profession, honestly. There's no profession. Yeah, man. No, yeah. Like what WWE can at least do for their superstars is not have the superstars always pay for the flights, right? Their meals. If you go to restaurants, obviously pay for that. But I'm talking about the flights, stuff like that. The flights, um, some other stuff. Hotel rooms, why not? And sports, when you travel, right? When you travel, your team travels. You're not paying for your hotel room. The team pays for it. Why can't WWE? WWE has the money, right? Remember, WWE did it sell just for 9 billion, emerge for 9 billion. Come on, like remember back in the day how hard it was for wrestlers to be away from their family, man. It's wrestling. Yes, there's a lot of issues in the acting world in Hollywood. There's a lot of divorce. There's a lot of divorces, a lot of drug stuff going on. But wrestling, look at the wrestling world, specifically 80s and 90s, is worse. It's worse. It's fucking worse. It's worse. Okay? It's really, really bad. Okay? Hogan's on his third wife right now. I didn't even know he got divorced. Now he's on his third wife. Ric Flair, what is going to be on a Ric Flair? Nobody needs 1 billion or 1,000. Ric Flair, I think, is on a sixth or seventh wife. And his and he lives his gimmick. And I think I know he lives his gimmick. Like, but I think that's, to me, living your gimmick, living his gimmick is costing him. It's cost his marriages, man. When you're married, you can't be a partier. Okay, you can't go to the bar and be a partier all the time. Even when you're on the road. I know wrestling was hard. You just want to go out and get a beer, whatever. But when you're married, you can't be a partier like every single time you're out on the road. I'm sorry. It's gonna cost. Yeah. It's you can't. Partying is fine when you're young and not in a relationship or married or whatever. But once you're married in a relationship, partying is something you should, well, take off your agenda. Okay? Because I guarantee you're going to get drunk or whatever. I mean, you could go out to a club or go to a bar once in a while, obviously, but don't make it a common thing like Flair did. And I know the wrestling world, your local town you're wrestling in, is there a bar? One thing to look for is a restaurant, a gym, or if there's a bar nearby, right? Don't live your gimmick. Okay? I know at one point living your gimmick outside of wrestling was very something you had to do, but it's in hindsight, don't live your character outside of wrestling. People are not stupid now. People know the wrestlers are not who they are on screen. And I know there's some old school wrestlers out there hate the idea that wrestlers now are open to being just themselves, regular people. I'm like, I don't see Chris Evans be Captain America on the street. I don't see I don't see Robert Patterson be Batman on the street. What's the difference? Really, what's the difference? Is it because wrestling you thought was 1 point real? I'll tell you one thing. You know Charlotte Flair, his daughter, is married now, but this is her third husband. She's on her third husband. And I'll say this now. It's easier now for wrestlers to not go through what wrestlers had to do back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s because with the advancement of social media, phones, computers, all that stuff, you could communicate with your family back home. The conditions are a little better. There's not many people taking drugs as much. And it's easier now, right? It's easier now for wrestlers to have an easier life right now. But just don't live your gimmick. Don't live your gimmick. I'll say that. Don't live your character on the streets, man, because that will destroy you, man. So, yeah. Yeah. All right. Right, should I end it here? Because I got to order some dinner soon, man. Yeah, that's what I was saying, guys. I think they should, but they won't. Let's remember, most of them are part of SAG. Like Seth Rollins, like Anthony said, Seth Rollins is going to be in Captain America 4, New World Order, or Brave World Order. I'm pretty sure Damien Priest at one point did say he was going to be in a Marvel movie. No, he just said he was going to be in Black Panther 2. But I don't believe for a second that if he was in the running for Namor. I don't believe it for a second. I mean, if he was Namor, look how tall he is with all his tattoos. Oh, hope he looks more scary than I'm not gonna whatever. Becky Lynch, for some reason, was rumored to be in a Marvel movie a couple of years ago, 4 years ago, that she was going to do a Marvel movie. That has not come to fruition. Okay. But yeah. Oh, by the way, there has been a lot of. I mean, I'll just say this: there's so many actors who are just like not now, but like so many actors who did stuff with wrestlers. They would tell you, doing wrestling was harder than, even for one, was a little bit harder than shooting one day. Okay. Okay. Ben Stiller. I'm gonna end it right here. Ben Stiller took a figure 4 from Jeff Jarrett. I think it was Ben Stiller. Back in '99. It was crazy. And that's a phone ringing. So do me for a like, subscribe, comment below on both of my channels. Let me find it. Maybe I don't know. I could get hurt. Let me find it before I end it. Ben Stiller. Too long. Whatever. Well, yeah. Like, subscribe, comment below. Do that a lot, guys. Take care.